Paddle to the Sea, chapters 13, 14, and 15. Chapter 13, Adrift Again. Storm swept over the lake, making great waves that washed Paddle out of his prison under the dock. Storms followed him nearly all the 300 miles that he traveled during the next month, crossing and recrossing his watery trails. One wild afternoon, a yellow spear of lightning struck a tree on a cliff, splitting it from top to bottom. The boy who made Paddle could have told him that the old Indians believed the lightning flash where a thunderbird struck its prey, and that thunder rolled from the beat of its mighty wings. That boy had been to school, and he could have told Paddle how rivers are made to turn dynamos, and how powerful electric currents come from the dynamos and follow copper cables to light homes and run factories and radios. But the boy was far away now, and Paddle was following a long river to the sea. That's his pathway. When no wind blew, the currents carried him eastward on his way. For a while he saw no land because he was riding the main shipping lanes of Lake Superior. Big freighters passed him, and he played his old game of loop-the-loop in their wakes. He passed the Kewanee Peninsula, the country of copper mines. Indians long ago had mined this copper to make knives and arrowheads, trading as far away as Mexico. Nowadays, copper is made into such things as pennies, cooking pots, and electric cables. After the passing the Kewanee Peninsula, Paddle was often washed ashore, and each time storms tossed him back into the lake. In between storms, wolves howled and hunted under a cold white moon. Foxes searched the beach for wave-tossed fish. Buck deer with new antlers and does without them came down to the shore. Ducks flocked into the marshes. It was fall. Chapter 14, The Shipwreck. One day Paddle was smothered on foaming crests and lost in deep valleys. The late fall storms for which Lake Superior is famous had overtaken him. Waves rushed with bristling manes like packs of wolves. Storm gales lashed them into bigger and bigger waves until they were higher than a house. When a spray struck Paddle, it froze instantly. Near Paddle, a freighter crept out of the storm. Ice, the terror of captains and crews on the late fall runs, had made her a shapeless mass. The ship wallowed and rolled and seemed to be out of control. Then in the darkness ahead, a star flickered and flashed. A lighthouse was signaling that help was at hand. The ship seemed to find new power as the doomed men fought toward hope of land. A lifeboat appeared, rowing slowly towards the ship, like a water beetle swimming toward a whale. A coil line shot in spirals across the icy deck, was caught, and a stout cable was hauled aboard. Then the lifeboat rowed off with the other end of the cable. The ship reared up and crashed down heavily, tossing Paddle high in the air. Men ran forward along the deck just as the freighter broke in two. The boilers blew up, the stern half sank in froth and explosion, but the bow end lay on jagged rocks with men clinging to it like tired flies. Paddle, rushed forward by the surf, skidded up the beach near the lighthouse and a Coast Guard station. A lifeline had been attached to the wrecked ship, stretched to the shore, and dangling from it by a pulley above the reaching surf, a man was being hauled in by a breeches boy. Trip by trip, the men of the lost ship were saved. Paddle on the beach was saved too. He escaped Lake Superior's icy water and violent storms. Chapter 15, Dry Dock. Yes, I know that if one sunken ship were placed every half mile, the line of wrecks would reach from end to end of the Great Lakes train, but that doesn't make me feel any better now that my ship has joined them in Davy Jones's locker. The captain of the wrecked freighter had been talking to the crew of the Coast Guard station while his men were getting into warm, dry clothes. The rescue men were soon driven off in trucks, and the Coast Guard crew took time to look at Paddle. He had been found after the wreck and set on a table among charts and brass instruments. The men knew from Paddle's carved sign that he had started his trip near Nipiong. They guessed from his red ore stains that he had went somewhere near Duluth. He must have gone, they figured, on a chart about 700 miles. You haven't allowed for winds blowing him all over the map, said one of them, called Bill. 2,000 miles would be more like it. He sure needs repair. Paddle had traveled some, but he hadn't reached the sea yet. It's dry dock for him now, or he'll never will. So that is how Paddle got a new copper rudder that would not rust, new paint with the canoe bright red, and a waterproof coating of ship's varnish. And best of all, a thick copper plate replaced the lead ballast. Bill stamped small letters deep into the plate. Now the sign read, I am paddled to the sea from Nippon country north of Lake Superior. This plate containing the original message with more added was put on at Whitefish Bay after a shipwreck. Please help me to more adventures. Scratch with metal points on this copper names of towns I pass. Return me to water in good place to continue voyage to the sea. Chapter 15. Paddle to the sea.